Hi, I'm Chad Bunovich. Hannah Bupp will be along in a few minutes. With all the prospects that at least some of the teaching we'll be doing this fall will be virtual, and also because we get so many questions on how we do things, Hannah and I are making this video to give a brief introduction to what the flipped classroom is and how we use it in our classrooms. So I'll start with, well, what is the flipped classroom? I'll kind of give it to you the same way I tell my parents and students at open house. The flipped classroom basically takes what kids would have normally done in school and moves it to home. And what they normally would have done at home, they now will do that in school. So when I first started teaching, and I did this for a long time, I would lecture for a little bit. I would have the kids take some notes. We might work on some math problems in class together. And if we were lucky, they may have some time, maybe 10 minutes at the end of class to kind of work on things on their own, kind of practice a little bit, ask questions. That was great if it happened that way, but a lot of times we just ran out of time. So sometimes the kids went home and struggled a little bit, maybe had to look up stuff on the internet, ask a parent or a sibling, and that just got frustrating for everybody. So the flipped classroom basically takes that lecture part and moves it out of class and into homework. So they watch a video and actually learn everything in a 10 or 15-minute video. And then when they come back to class, I've already kind of front-loaded them with some of their information so that when we actually practice material, I'm there so I can help them. So any questions they have, they can immediately just raise their hand, or I'm just walking around and I can answer anything they have as soon as they need some help. So I run my classes a couple different ways. So some of my classes I run in a truly flipped model, which I kind of just described to you. The other classes I do more of a blending learning model, and Hannah will be along here to kind of explain how she does it. And this blended learning that I do and hers is very similar. It's not the same, but it's very similar. I made my videos using the iPad screen recording feature. I've used Screencastify. I've used Screencast-O-Matic. If you want to learn more about those apps, the tech modules that we're all doing this summer do a wonderful job of explaining how to use those. So the flip model, the kids watch the videos at home, and the videos just give them a taste of what's to come. I do not expect them to be experts by watching the video by any means. I'm giving them just some of the information, and when they get back to class, we take that and run with it. So a lot of times teachers will say, well, how do you have time to make your videos and edit your video? Well, I don't do any editing. My videos are not awesome. They're pretty plain. I think at this point, now that I've been doing this for about 6 years or so, I probably have some time now to go back and start editing them and making them a little more awesome. But all I did was just record my screen, write on the screen, and talk. The one thing I have found in the past, though, is if you are in the video, whether it's just your voice, it can be your face, but if it's just your voice, I get a lot more impact that way with the kids than if it's a video that I've used from YouTube. But we've all run into time crunches, and if you need to use a video from YouTube, then that's great too. So how do I know if the kids watch the videos? Well, sometimes I'm sneaky about it and sometimes I'm not. So there's a picture there on the screen of a giraffe water skiing. So I actually put that into one of my videos. It just pops up for about 5 seconds while I'm talking. And I don't actually say anything about it. It just pops up on the screen. And if the kids are watching the video and paying attention, then they remember that picture. Or sometimes I might tell a little story for about 10 seconds, or I might play a little music for a few seconds in the video. I kind of try and change it up. So when the kids come back to class, I give them a little short quiz, about 3 to 5 questions, and it just quizzes them on what they watched and what they learned. And if you watch the video, you will know the answer to the questions. If you didn't watch the video, you won't know the answer to the questions. So it's just my way of just kind of checking to make sure they did what they were supposed to do. I also check their notes as backup. So what are the advantages to the flipped classroom? The big one is time. What I normally would have taken 30 to 40 minutes to lecture about, I can do in about a 10 to 12-minute video because I just keep talking. I don't wait for the kids to write anything down. And in the videos, they can pause me, they can rewind me. They have that advantage. So what does that time give me? That time gives me, or gaining that time gives me time to build relationships with the kids. I'm constantly walking around, talking to the kids, asking them how they're doing, checking up on them, seeing what they're doing, which gives me time to help those kids that are struggling. Those kids that are quiet, that don't ask many questions, I hit those kids several times in a period, because I'm not taking that extra 20 or 30 minutes to lecture and standing in front of the class. I'm actually, right there at their desk helping them. And I really do get to check in with all the kids at least a couple times. Because most of the time, sometimes they're doing their work at their desk, but sometimes we're playing games or we're doing activities, and those things I didn't have time for before. So it's much more interactive. We're moving around a lot. It's not just kids sitting at their desk. And I really enjoy the flipped class for the time it gives me. So here's Hannah, and she'll explain to you how she does things in her classroom.
Hi, I'm Hannah, and I'm going to tell you how I run my flipped classroom, which is a little bit different than Chad. So the home base is Google Classroom, and so the kids just come in and they get to work as soon as possible. I don't start to pressure them until after the bell rings. So if you notice at the top, I have an announcement. I notice that is better than putting it at the bottom, which is what I used to do, because then they didn't see it if it was at the bottom. This allows for self-pace. The kids just go right through the list, and when they're done, they're done. It has to be correct, but if it's correct, they're good to go. You do need to spend some time training the students, walking them through each step so that they know exactly what you expect of them. So one part of this process is the video. So I prefer Screencast-O-Matic or the iPad, and you can find tutorials in the modules. I upload it to YouTube and Google Drive just in case one of them doesn't work. There's a backup. I prefer the kids to watch them in class. I used to do it as homework, but a lot of kids wouldn't do it, or they would rush through it. And so if I do it in class, I can monitor that. And I also encourage kids to go slow and to ask questions. I just pace around the classroom and I wait for a kid to ask me a question. And then the students take notes while they watch. I give them a skeleton note and they fill it out. Then another component is the Socratives. That's also in the modules if you want a tutorial on that. This is a great way of assessing video comprehension, so it gives them the motivation to take their time on the video, because if they don't do that, they're going to be very confused answering these questions, and it's going to take them longer. I, again, will help them, but with a big class, it's not like I can sit next to a kid and help them through every problem. If they get it right, they just keep moving, and if they get it wrong, they have to raise their hand and talk to me about why they got it wrong and how they can get it right next time. If they do that, I sign it and they still get full credit. And then finally, they then have some paperwork and after. So on the paperwork, this is a great way to get more assessment, and I check it as they go, again, to make sure that they have correct answers. And then sometimes they have activities depending how long the lesson is. The work has to be checked by me or the tutor. And then when they finish, as long as it's correct, I am fine with them doing other schoolwork or anything else really, as long as it's not distracting to other students, which is, again, a great motivator for some students. So that's all I have, but be on the lookout for Zoom help sessions to come where we can answer questions, give more information about how we run our classroom.